to you and to you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our game against Bournemouth. We'll start off with Vinny from Sky.
Sean, I thought I'd get this out of the way first. Obviously, Neal Maupay posted on social media about how he feels when he's down. He just looks for the Everton result. What are your feelings about what he had to say? What action can he take, if any?
I think it's fair to say there's a bigger picture to Everton Football Club that I'm focusing on. I don't think I need to be too worried about his comments.
Is there any disciplinary action? I mean,
no, I don't think we're worried about that. No, I don't think we're worried about any of that.
Okay. What's the latest then in terms of team news? Tim Irabinam, James Garner, how far away are they?
Them two are both on the grass with the sports science side, though. Not ready for us yet. Still a bit of time to go with them, but they are making progress.
Dwight McNeil?
I doubt Dwight at the weekend. We're settling, but getting it to that final moment when he can join in again has been a bit trickier than we thought.
On that then, what more do you feel you can get from the wide areas? Because you've created, as a team, 20 big chances this season from the 18 games. 9 of them have come from Dwight. He's obviously got 3 goals, 3 assists. Illiman has 3 goals. Ashley's got 1 goal, 3 assists, but there's nothing from Vitaly Mykolenko, Jack Harrison or Jesper Lindstrom.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we want them numbers to change for the players mentioned at the end there, but, Dwight, we know he's a good player, we know he's a productive player, and players like him will be missed, of course. Trying to get the team structure chances and high-quality chances from other areas has been a long-term process here. Still trying to do that, but obviously we do think them players have got enough talent to do that, finding the right moments. But, particularly, I think, Illy's slightly different, he's kind of style from where he works from, the way he drifts and carries the ball. It's a different scenario. But when you're talking more simply than the talent that involves, crosses and passes and killer passes, then that's been a task since I've been here and before I was here. I've spoken about that pretty fairly and pretty openly, it's fair to say, about, the trying to get more production from all areas, trying to get more production from individuals and the collective. And that's been a big challenge, still is.
What, again, then, do you see as the problem at the moment in terms of creating those opportunities? Because, again, against Forest, there were good moments that we got into good positions, but maybe that final delivery.
Well, the conundrum is, if you remember at the beginning of last season, the first 4 or 5 games we didn't win 4 particularly, and yet our XG was off the scale. You remember there's a lot of talk, I had to answer to it, and sometimes brought it up about the XG last season was very high overall, but it was certainly very high in the early part of the season. So therefore, the point is you are creating good quality chances. This season's not been as high, but there still has been chances. It's not just the provider, it's the final moment of truth. That's why usually, almost always, strikers and attacking players or goal-scoring style players are in demand. That's usually the case, and that's the reason, because getting there is one thing. The next challenge is to be productive. The next challenge is the quality of the production. That, like I say, if we put it in simple terms, a killer pass, a cross, that type of thing. But the final bit is the finish. And so, I think there's a lot of teams being very successful at the minute, because I know the numbers, with less quality chances and less actual chances, scoring more goals, so it's all mixed in. It's not just the creation, it's the final moment of truth and putting it in the net.
Does it in some way explain, though, why Dominic's gone so long without a goal? 14 games now? Well,
his personal numbers are decent. I spoke to him about that. So, people are saying you play this way, you play that way. But if your own numbers, the thing about the stats and the facts, they're there to be used, and the numbers are pretty decent. So, sometimes it comes down to the moment of truth. It's slightly harsh on him, his numbers, because of the 2 goals that were classed as own goals. Yeah. That does swerve the numbers a little bit. But no, some of the production has been better to give them chances. And some of it has been the moment of truth to take the chance.
Just on Dominic, there's reports coming out of Italy that there's been an inquiry for him from Atalanta. Any truth in that? And what would your thoughts be on the potential for him?
No, there's been no contact from anyone. There's bound to be rumours, there's bound to be conjecture. That's the nature of it.
Would it make sense to let him go for an offer where to come in, or on the playing side, would it leave you to?
Well, I think we'll think about that if that happens. But as there's been no contact, there's been no discussions needed.
How clear are you now that the window is open, though, as to what you can do money-wise while staying within those PSR parameters?
Yeah, I mean, well, for one, I wouldn't be telling you, because that means everyone else knows, quite obviously, and then they'll guide themselves accordingly. No, I mean, there are parameters. The owners have made that clear. We know it's clear. Some people have been trying to use that word PSR like there's another moment in time for us. There isn't. Not as far as I know, there isn't. Just to be clear again for that. But never let the truth get in the way of a good story and all that. But there are guidelines, and everyone, not just for us, everyone's going to have to work within them, and other clubs are probably going into that world of where we were, maybe, where they've got to look at their numbers, and that's probably the case. Everyone's just looking at their numbers, being sure, making sure they're in the correct position to move forward. So that there are still guidelines, and it's, the one thing it won't be, and it's unlikely to be, is hundreds of millions of pounds, whether you got it or not. And our owners are pretty wealthy, we know that, but there are still guidelines that they're going to have to work with.
Just to push it.
Excuse me. Sorry?
Do you expect to do some business though?
Forgetting about the numbers, I've been doing this a long time in the Premier League. Notoriously, January is a very, very tough month because you never know. So I'm not saying no, but it is very tough. Forgetting about numbers. You've seen it down the years, and usually if the big deals are done, they've often paid a lot of money for them big deals to happen.
Just check on Seamus. Is he all right? Yeah.
No. Sorry, we've got to mention him. Yeah, nothing too serious, but not ready for this one.
Well, Nathan Patterson coming into the mix as well.
Yeah, we got him on the last couple of games. Yeah, I mean, he's never been out the mix. He had a really serious injury. People forget that, and it's taken him some time to get back to real fitness and real sharpness. But I think he's getting there, and he's had some game time, which is good.
Just finally from me, Sean, I mean, what have you made of what Bournemouth had done? Unbeaten in 7, lost just 5 of 17 since the game at Goodison, the game that you guys probably should have won. Yeah. I mean, similar but different story to Forest. I said after Forest, because just to explain that, because people say, no, you said that it was a compliment. It was, because everyone talks about you got to have 500 passes around your own box. Well, they don't. Bournemouth don't really. But I said it's a compliment. These guys are playing a different way. They're getting the ball forward early. Forest do the same. They're working hard as a team, very hard. They press. Good mix of football to try and be successful, and it's paying them back. It's not that easy to do. People sort of think it's easy to play that way. It's not. So respect for that. But of course, as I always say, respect goes out the window. We need results. We know that. We've had a good run of not losing games over the overall numbers, but turning into wins is massive. And, against Forest, another reminder, if you're not on everything, if you're not on every detail, you get hurt. So we've got to make sure that we're ready to go and work hard. That's for sure. Sure, Sean. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny. We'll go to Beth.
Hey Sean,
Hi.
Happy New Year.
And to you and to everyone.
Just picking up on that, the Bournemouth chat, we know that they play with that high press. They have such a particular style. They're so well organised. Does that mean you're going to change the way that you set up on Saturday?
No, I think you've just got to be more ready for it. I think their manager did a great job, because I remember playing them when he first got here, and they were trying to play total football. It didn't work for him. Had a really tough start, and he's changed it radically. That's a really, I respect that. To change a whole style. And gone very more straightforward in football. But that's, like I said, it's a compliment, to make the best of your players. They've got players with energy, players with quality as well. And they're forming a unit that's been very successful so far this season. And differently to the beginning of the season, I believe, I agree with what Vinny said. We should have killed that game. We should have won it. We know all the rest of it. We didn't. That's the way it goes. But they've carried on working at their style, and they've got very good players, I think, some underrated players. That being said, we've just taken on, 3, including Forest, actually, because that sounds disrespectful, not 3, because they're currently up there, the 3rd. So 4 teams that have been very successful this season, and barring the Forest one, we've given a good account of ourselves. Need to do more in the attacking side of things, but played some powerful clubs, so we need to go down there with the right attitude, the right mentality, the right tactical understanding, but of course, create more chances than we are doing to win games.
Just on that, in December, so much was being made at the beginning about how tough your fixtures were going to be, especially over that festive period. But you've come away from that with a draw against City, a draw against Chelsea, a draw against Arsenal. Yeah, you lost to Nottingham Forest, but that's 3 draws against big clubs that, and points that maybe...
Yeah, we beat Wolves before that, don't forget, because that was a really important game. Not because they're giants of football, but you know what I mean? That has to be factored in, because that was a really tricky game for both teams.
So does that mean that you're sort of coming into January feeling quite optimistic?
I don't lose optimism. It just means that I was hoping to turn them draws into a win. We didn't against Forest. We've got a chance, as you do in football, another chance to correct it, albeit a side in good form at their home ground. But, it's another chance for us to go and take on the game. And I think, like you said, we've done enough to build that inner confidence. It's about taking that into, moving it forwards, breaking the cycle of events. This club's been in a cycle for quite a long time. I've looked past the history and good spell, bad spell, good spell, bad spell, good spell, and it keeps going like that. We've had a more consistent spell, but haven't found the wins in that consistent spell. Now, can you go on again? Can we take it on another level, win a game, which makes all them draws look even better? That's the weird thing about football. If we'd have beat Forest, everyone said, they're on a great run of form. We didn't beat Forest, now it's like, everything's not right. And you go, well, it's never far away.
Do you listen to all of that outside chat?
here, it's you can't not listen to it because everyone tells you about it all the time. So I don't tend to, no. I mean, I've got 10 years experience in the Premier League, so I know what it's about. But I respect it, but I just don't have to read it all. You know what I mean?
You've been asked quite a lot over sort of the recent month about the lack of goals and, you know, how it's not quite clicking up front necessarily in terms of actually scoring those goals. Is that a concern for you?
I haven't been asked in the last month. That's been since I got here and before that. You know, the team wasn't scoring goals before that. I've checked, I know all the data. So you're trying to correct a big situation. People sort of ask questions as you do and other people, and they make statements about as if it's easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Everyone loves to score goals, including me. Everyone loves a team that scores goals. It's not that easy. So how many different ways can you combine a team to make it work? And, of course, you've got to remember it's keeping that end shut. You know, early season, the first 4 games, we didn't win. We looked like we could score goals, but we couldn't keep the back door shut. So it's finding that balance. You know, there are players who can score goals. I believe they can create chances and better quality chances. The consistency of it is key, you know, and opening different ways of doing that. And it's been a big challenge here.
Sean, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's Betsy. We'll go to Julia.
On that subject, in the calendar year of 2024, it was 8 wins, and 4 of those came in April when it was that run, particularly in the 1 week where it was 3 wins. What was the difference? And you're saying there you want more from the attacking side. So what was it in the April that you were doing that maybe isn't happening now?
Well, if you remember them performances, they were organised performances tactically, full of commitment, full of that. And nicking games with getting on the right side of the margins. You know, winning games freely in the Premier League is difficult. Sometimes the margins are tight. You have to get on the right side, and we weren't doing, and then we suddenly did for them games. And we've done that in spells, like I just mentioned. There's been spells of that, spells when we haven't done that, and it's so important. You know, it's sort of against Nottingham Forest. You know, 2 mistakes and you lose. Simple as that. You know, you've got to do everything right. You know, it's not just the goal scoring side, but that period we were very strong defensively. And we did manage to nick chances and good goals and win games. So we're certainly not going to lose that, which we've shown lately, but we just haven't turned them draws into wins. And that's the next stage, I think. Barring the Forest game, that's the next stage in this run of games.
After that game, you said the players didn't do what you'd wanted them to do in the first half.
No, they didn't, no.
So what was the plan originally? And can you put that to bed this week? Because you have to trust your players to do what you say.
That's football, though, because it's, to be fair, that's quite a rare thing that they stepped away from what we thought would be effective. So, yeah, probably didn't clear that bit up, and it was for 1 half. You know, second half we changed the style, we changed the way of playing, the energy, the commitment, and second half, barring their goal, which was another mistake, then you'd look at the second half as a very dominant performance. So, but we didn't score, of course. So changing, you know, that dominance in scoring goals, that's another challenge, but you know, this, I'd like to think that it's a rarity they don't actually listen to what we say and didn't. They do listen, but didn't deliver it on the day. Deciding factors, we spoke to the group about it. It can be many different things. You know, we all talk about it, too many games and all that sort of stuff. I don't use that as an excuse personally. You know, a bit of fatigue, they were on it, we weren't on it, collective down day. There's lots of different things, but the planning, the preparation's all there. It is frustrating when players step away from delivering it, and they did for a half. Slightly better second half, but we've got to improve, that's for sure, on that performance.
When you talk then about the issue with goals, and yes, it was an issue here before your time, but obviously it's almost 2 years since you joined. I'm just wondering, I know I've asked you before about bringing an a striker coach in. Also, are you constantly looking at that and seeing if you can make changes to change that, get those goals?
I was sitting with Gary Birtles, Ian Storymore and John Robertson recently, and they were talking about goal scorers, and all of them could find a goal. And the thing is with striking coaches, if it was that easy, everyone would do it all around the world and we'd have loads of strikers. No, seriously. You know, I know academies searching the world for the top talent, and yet a lot of top clubs buy strikers who have developed through their pathway. So it's a very difficult skill to just teach someone how to smell a goal, how to smell the right place to be, how to find a pathway through football. Most see it quicker than the opposition, most see it quicker than the defenders. They land in the right, it's like an intuition. So to teach intuition is very, very difficult. To maybe sharpen finishing practices, well, any pro licensed coach, which we all are, should be able to do a finishing practice. But even top strikers, when I spoke to them, and I know a few, you know, for them to pass that knowledge on to someone is very difficult. And like I said, if it was that easy, there'd be top striking coaches and top strikers all around the planet. There's not that many.
On that note then, Broja, you started him in the last game. Is he done enough to prove to you that he can start and be your main striker?
He's doing enough around what we do in training, getting back to full fitness. Not expecting an instant miracle, but I think he's a very good player.
I'm going to just ask you about Mykolenko's form last season. I think he stood out as somebody who had really improved under you. Maybe not so much this season. His form hasn't been quite where it was. How do you assess his season so far?
Well, it's a strange thing because equally after the Arsenal game, everyone said he was terrific and outstanding and marking one of the best attacking players in the country. So that's the yin and yang of football.
Thanks, Julia. We'll go to Carl at the Press Association.
If the methodology which has got you to the stability where you are on the pitch,
Needs for you to say, I know, I couldn't resist it 'cause he was laughing. That wasn't me. He was laughing. Like, I could see him and I thought, he was thinking what I was thinking. Don't worry, I do it all the time.
that'll be the last time someone laughs at me. If the methodology doesn't change and it's brought you that stability, then what does have to change?
In what's that? Sorry, about in the scoring aspect of the game?
Just in terms of the method you've employed has got you to a certain point, but and then presumably they're the methods you've always used, so you're sticking with that.
No, they're certainly not the methods we always use. We've got a completely different cultural group here, completely different style, playing with different players, playing, I was told I would never play anything other than 4-4-2. I think we've played it twice since I've been here. So, no, there's lots of differences. Very similar players. We haven't been in a situation to cherry-pick players who would just go, right, they'll do the job for us. And the spending power has been nowhere near what other teams have done over the last 5 seasons, not just my seasons here. So, eventually, the collective coaching point, I believe in my coach myself in doing that, but changing the group, adding to the group, what can you give? What level of the market can you get to really adapt the group? And I think that's a challenge here financially. Obviously, that's proven. So we're constantly working with a group of players to mould them into a group and add to them, and all the ability we've got to try and add to them to make it better and to make it stronger and to win more games.
But the existing group you've got, are you getting? Do you feel you're getting the absolute most out of them?
I'm certainly trying. There's no guarantees, but I think there's been a lot of development through a lot of players here. The ways of grading football, because most people just we've spoken about this a lot. My job here has been endless, but no one really cares. They just bother about go and win a game, mate. I've said that all the time. We've saved hundreds of £1 million there, and players, player trading, wages, all the rest of it, skinning the squad down, all the rest of it. It's not relevant. Just win a game. So it depends how you measure it. I know the work we've done here. I know the work we've done financially. I know the work we've done with players. Players here are worth 10 times what they were worth when we got here. So there's development. But like I say, the only development fans and media and everyone cares about, including myself to some degree, I have to care about the rest of it. But win games, be successful. Never think I don't want that. That's my number one. But while I'm doing that here, it hasn't been just concentrating on that. Some managers get the luxury of going, your job is to just concentrate on the team. That's it, because everything else is in place. It clearly hasn't been here, and it's still not. I said at the beginning of the season, there is miles to go, but everyone's just making up, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing that? It's endless work to go here. So it depends how you measure it, is my point. If you measure it on just winning games, we need to do better. There's no two ways, I need to do better. If you measure it on the whole job, I'm pretty happy.
Has your role narrowed now that all the off-field stuff is sort of? Do you say that some managers?
No, because like I say, we're still working with this group. There isn't a magic checkbook to say, there you go, because of rules and guidance, not because the owners don't want to support the club. They obviously do, but there's still guidelines. So it can't just be corrected. So it's a constant working process, as it has been ever since I got here, and it still is. Thank you.
Any further questions in the open section before we move on?